Your 4-year-old just had a complete meltdown because you gave them the wrong colored cup. And here's the thing that's driving you crazy. They weren't like this at 2. At 2, tantrums were expected. But now, they can talk, they can reason, they know better. So why are the tantrums actually more intense? I'm going to show you what's actually happening in your child's brain right now, and why understanding this one thing will completely change how you respond to their outbursts. By the end of this video, you'll have 6 strategies that work for 85% of families, and you'll finally understand why your smart, capable 4-year-old still loses it over seemingly nothing. So first, let me paint you a picture of what's actually happening inside your 4-year-old's head right now. Your child is standing at this fascinating developmental crossroads. They're not a toddler anymore, you know this. They can hold conversations. They understand complex ideas. They can negotiate like tiny lawyers. But they're also not school-aged yet, where they can consistently manage their emotions. And this is where it gets interesting. The emotional center of their brain, called the amygdala, is fully operational. Actually, it's more than operational. It's sophisticated. Your 4-year-old can feel disappointment, frustration, anger, and injustice with the same intensity as you do. They're experiencing real, legitimate emotional pain when their expectations aren't met. But here's the problem. The part of their brain that's supposed to regulate all these big feelings, the prefrontal cortex, that won't fully mature until their mid-20s. So imagine having the emotional intensity of an adult, but the regulation skills of, well, a 4-year-old. That's what your child is dealing with every single day. This is why you get that Jekyll and Hyde behavior. One moment your child is explaining in detail why sharing is important. The next moment, they're on the floor screaming because their sibling looked at their toy. Both of these behaviors are completely normal, and both of them make total sense when you understand what's happening in their brain. Now, let me tell you why tantrums at 4 actually feel more challenging than they did at 2 or 3. Think of your child's emotional capacity like a container. At 18 months, this container was tiny. Any significant emotion would immediately overflow into a tantrum. That's all they could do. Your 4-year-old's container? It's much larger now, much stronger. But here's the catch. The emotions they're experiencing are also way more complex. They remember yesterday's disappointments. They anticipate future events with real excitement or worry. They feel social emotions like embarrassment and jealousy. Their emotional world is richer and more complicated than it's ever been. So while their container has grown, what they're trying to hold in that container has grown even faster. And then there's the language piece. This one trips up so many parents. Your 4-year-old can usually articulate complex thoughts beautifully. You've had real conversations with them. So when they melt down and start screaming instead of using their words, it feels like they're choosing not to communicate, like they're being manipulative. But here's what's actually happening. During emotional overwhelm, their thinking brain goes offline. Those sophisticated language skills? Temporarily unavailable. Just like when you're extremely stressed and can't think straight. That's what's happening to them. They're not choosing to act younger. They literally can't access those skills in that moment. Okay, now, let's talk about the 3 types of outbursts you're seeing at age 4. Because not all tantrums are created equal, and understanding which type your child is having will help you respond more effectively. Type 1. The overwhelmed expressor. This is the child who becomes emotionally flooded and expresses it through crying, screaming, or collapsing dramatically on the floor. They're genuinely overwhelmed. They're not trying to manipulate you or control the situation. They're communicating that their emotional container has reached capacity. If this is your child, your response needs to focus on validation and staying calm. Your calm presence becomes their external regulation system. You're essentially lending them your regulated nervous system until theirs comes back online. You might say something like, "I can see you're having really big feelings right now. You're safe, and I'm here with you while you work through this." Type 2. The physical processor. This child expresses emotional overwhelm through their body. They're hitting, kicking, throwing objects, or even running away. These kids have a strong physical connection to their emotions. They express feelings through movement and touch rather than words. If this is your child, safety becomes your first priority, but you're still maintaining emotional connection. This might mean gently restraining hands that are hitting, or calmly removing objects that might be thrown. While you're providing that physical containment, you're also offering validation. You can feel as angry as you want. You cannot hit people when you're angry. Type 3. The persistent negotiator. This is the child who cycles through different emotional states during the outburst. They're crying, then bargaining, then demanding, then trying to negotiate their way out of whatever triggered their feelings. They might seem to calm down, only to escalate again when they realize the boundary still stands. If this is your child, they need particularly clear and consistent boundaries. They're testing whether your emotional state will change their reality. Your response needs to acknowledge their feelings while firmly maintaining the boundary. I hear that you really want to keep playing. You can feel disappointed about stopping, and we're still cleaning up now. All right, here's the most crucial skill for handling 4-year-old outbursts. Learning to validate emotions while maintaining necessary boundaries. And I want to be really clear about what this means, because it's not about giving in to unreasonable demands. It's not about avoiding all triggers or tiptoeing around your child's emotions. It's about helping your child understand that feelings are always acceptable, while certain behaviors and outcomes may not be. Let me give you a specific technique that changes everything. Replace but with and. Instead of saying, I know you're disappointed, but we have to leave. Try, I know you're disappointed, and we still need to leave the playground. This tiny word change makes a massive difference. But negates everything that came before it, and holds both truths at the same time. Your child's feelings are valid, and the boundary stands. Both things are true. Here's another key piece. You need to validate the intensity of their emotions, even when the trigger seems completely ridiculous to you. When they melt down because their sandwich was cut into triangles instead of squares, they're not being dramatic. They're experiencing genuine distress about violated expectations. Their brain genuinely registered this as a problem that needs to be solved. Validating this intensity doesn't mean you change the sandwich. It means you acknowledge their experience. You really wanted squares. That's different from what you expected, and that feels frustrating. You're teaching them that their feelings make sense, even when the outcome can't change. Let me give you some practical scripts for the situations that happen in your house all the time. When they don't want to stop playing. I can see you're having so much fun building with blocks. It's hard to stop when you're enjoying something, and it's time for dinner. You can feel disappointed about stopping, and you can choose to clean up by yourself or clean up with my help. Notice how you're validating, maintaining the boundary, and offering a choice all at once. When they're told no to something they want. You really want that toy. I can see how much you want it. The answer is still no. You can feel disappointed, and the answer stays no. Tell me more about why you want it so much. That last part, tell me more, is powerful. It gives them something to do with all that emotional energy, besides escalate. When plans change unexpectedly. You were really looking forward to going to the park. Now it's raining and we can't go. That's disappointing when something you were excited about changes. It's okay to feel upset about that. Let's think about what we can do instead. You're validating the disappointment before you problem solve. Most parents skip straight to the solution, but your child needs their feelings acknowledged first. When they feel unheard or misunderstood, I can see you're getting frustrated. It seems like you don't think I understand what you're trying to tell me. Help me understand better. Use your words to explain what's happening for you. This script is gold when you can see them starting to escalate but haven't completely lost it yet. Here's something that's different at 4 compared to 2. You can actually teach coping strategies during the outburst itself. Not complex strategies. Their thinking brain is still offline. But simple, concrete tools that don't require much thought. Smell the flower, blow out the candle breathing. This is perfect for 4-year-olds. You take a deep breath in through your nose like you're smelling a flower, then slowly exhale through your mouth like you're blowing out a candle. The beauty of this technique is that it's simple enough to remember during overwhelm, but effective enough to actually activate their calm-down system. You can model it. I'm going to smell the flower and blow out the candle. Want to try it with me? Body awareness and grounding. Help them notice what's happening in their body. Let's notice what your body is doing right now. I see your fists are tight and your face looks angry. That's what anger feels like in your body. This might seem simple, but it's teaching them to recognize emotional signals before they become completely overwhelming. Over time, this awareness helps them catch themselves earlier. Offering choices during overwhelm. Even during outbursts, you can offer appropriate choices. You can have your big feelings here in the living room, or you can go to your room to have them. You choose. This isn't about controlling their emotions. It's about giving them some control over their environment while they work through these big feelings. That sense of agency can actually help them calm down faster. Now, I need to address when these outbursts cross the line from normal to concerning. Most 4-year-old outbursts are completely normal and expected, but there are some patterns that warrant a conversation with your pediatrician or a child development specialist. Pay attention to frequency. If your 4-year-old is having multiple outbursts every single day for more than a few weeks, that's worth getting checked out. Some children have more sensitive nervous systems and need additional support developing regulation skills. This doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means your child might need more intensive guidance. Watch for duration and intensity. Outbursts that consistently last longer than 30 minutes or include self-harm, serious property destruction, or extreme aggression toward others. These may indicate your child needs additional support. Consider the context. Where are these outbursts happening? If it's primarily with you, that's actually pretty normal. Children often save their biggest emotions for their primary caregiver because they feel safest expressing vulnerability with you. But if teachers and other caregivers are also reporting frequent, intense outbursts across multiple settings, that's when additional evaluation might be helpful. Here's what I want you to remember about the big picture. Every single outburst your 4-year-old has is essentially a practice session in emotional regulation. Every single one. When you respond with validation while maintaining boundaries, you're helping them build the actual neural pathways that will eventually allow them to self-regulate more consistently. But here's the thing about this process. Progress isn't linear. You're going to have waves of improvement followed by temporary setbacks. Your 4-year-old might have several great weeks where you think, "We've turned a corner," and then suddenly you're back to multiple outbursts a day. This doesn't mean your strategies aren't working. It doesn't mean you've failed. It means your child is growing and integrating new skills. Developmental leaps, illness, family stress, all of these can temporarily set back progress. That's normal. Expected even. Building emotional vocabulary. Use these outbursts as opportunities to expand your child's emotional vocabulary. Don't settle for just mad or sad. Introduce words like frustrated, disappointed, overwhelmed, worried, excited, anxious. The more precisely they can identify their emotions, the more effectively they can communicate and eventually regulate them. This is actual brain development happening. You're building the foundation for their emotional intelligence for their entire life. The ripple effect on your family. How you handle your 4-year-old's outbursts doesn't just affect them, it affects your entire family's emotional culture. Your other children are watching how you respond to big emotions. They're internalizing those lessons for their own emotional expression. Your partner is observing your patience and consistency. This can strengthen your parenting partnership, or it can strain it if you're not on the same page. You're essentially teaching everyone in your family what emotions are acceptable and how to handle them. Look, I know this is hard. I know you're exhausted. I know there are days when you feel like you're doing everything wrong because your child still has these massive outbursts. But here's the truth. Your 4-year-old's outbursts aren't a reflection of your parenting. They're a normal, expected part of their emotional development. The goal isn't to eliminate outbursts entirely. Occasional emotional overwhelm is normal throughout childhood and even adulthood. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. Instead, you're helping your 4-year-old develop the skills to move through intense emotions more quickly, communicate their needs more effectively, and recover from emotional challenges with greater resilience. Every calm response you offer during their emotional storm, that's an investment in their emotional future. Every time you validate their feelings while maintaining a boundary, you're teaching them that they can feel big things and still be safe. Every time you help them name their emotions and practice coping skills, you're building neural pathways that will serve them for their entire life. Trust the process. Trust your child's capacity to learn and grow. And trust your own ability to guide them through this developmental stage. You've got this. If you found this helpful, I've got more resources on handling challenging moments with your kids. The links are in the description below. And if you're dealing with this right now, drop a comment and let me know what your biggest struggle is with your 4-year-old's outbursts. I read every single one. See you in the next video.